Let's talk about how to handle negative comments from competitors that are being said about you to your prospective clients. How do you handle those without sounding defensive? Now, this particular tip is as a result of a podcast episode on the Sales Maven podcast, where on episode 288, I shared how to rebuild your tarnished business reputation, and I gave actionable steps. Now, that particular episode was really focused on what to do when you have been the person that made the misstep and you need to repair your reputation. And I broke down a couple scenarios on there. And as a result, somebody had reached out and asked this question. They had shared, like, well, what do you do when it's somebody else that's talking about you to a mutual client? And they're, kind of priming this person to think that you're, going to make a mistake or something, you're less than in some way. And then something happens outside of your control. And the client then absolutely assumes that this is your mistake because they've been primed to think that you're the one who drops the ball. And she had said that, one of her concerns is that anytime she tries to defend herself or point out that this wasn't her mistake, that she ends up coming off sounding defensive and or not as a team player. So these situations happen and being prepared for them is so important because it's easy to be derailed. It's easy to get defensive because of course you like, you know, anything that feels like, where's the justice in that? Like, this is so unjustified. It's not fair, right? But unfortunately, in client situations, like you have to maintain your composure and you want to send the message that it's not about being defensive, it's about keeping the relationship intact and also rebuilding in their mind your credibility, your expertise, your reputation. So, first, we want to shift from being defensive to getting to a place of curiosity. So, in these moments, the worst thing that you can do is come off as defensive because then it sounds like, I mean, we all know when we've been in conversations with people are feel like coming across defensive, we all go like, something doesn't sound right there. So then they, of course, assume that this is you trying to like cover for yourself. So when you can shift to curiosity instead, it keeps that like neutral ground and allows for you to start to build back reputation from there. So I'm going to give you kind of four scenarios. And these are things that you can respond with in that situation to start to rebuild that trust and that credibility and then take it from there. So here are some examples of ways to get curious and things that you say. So first, what if you want to clarify ownership? Like we need to clarify like who dropped the ball here, but instead of pointing out like it wasn't me, it was them, instead you could say, "That's interesting. Can you walk me through how you came to that conclusion? I want to make sure I fully understand before we move forward." Now, notice I've shifted my voice a little bit. I get a little bit softer. I shift my body language. Even my eyes kind of squint a little bit, like I'm getting curious here and I'm wondering about something, right? That instantly takes the defensive out of it. And now it's just like we're in discovery mode. Okay. That's one situation. What if we need to check in about assumptions? Like here's another phrase that you could use. You could say, "I hear your concern. Can you share what specifically led you to think that this was my oversight?" Now, again, your voice has to be soft here because if you say, "What specifically led you to think this was my oversight?" that sounds defensive. So soften your voice. "I hear your concern. Can you share what specifically led you to think this was my oversight? I'd like for us both to be clear on where the issue originated." Okay. Now, here's a third scenario when we want to redirect with collaboration. This is a good one. You might say, "Thank you for bringing this up. Let's look together at what happened so we can identify the best solution moving forward." So now it's like we're in this together, you and me, client. We're going to figure this out. And then here's the last one. I call this the neutral fact checking response. "I wasn't aware of that. Can you show me where you noticed this so we can sort out our next step?" That now again goes into this like, we're just trying to find the facts. We're trying to uncover what went wrong here so we can fix it and move forward. When you can shift from this idea of coming across defensive to being curious, you'll find that the relationship stays intact. It builds your credibility, which enhances your reputation. And remember that reputation, it's not about being right. It really isn't. It really is about showing up with consistency, presence, professionalism, even when others are stirring the waters. Your credibility will shine through. So stay calm, stay curious, reinforce your reputation as the person who leads with integrity because that person is going to win in those situations. I'm wishing you so much continued success as you continue to grow your business. I'm Nikki Rausch, the sales maven. If I can help you further, please reach out. Have a great rest of your day.